That's okay. Hello, one viewer. Just wait for a couple more people to join. But yeah, so hello. This is a sort of live stream reaction to some James Bond news. Sorry, I've just got a Facebook message. So, hello, Mr. Bond. Afternoon. Just need to mute some messages and then I will respond. Okay, so yeah, it's come to a lot of people's attention that recently there were some leaks in regards to Bond screen tests and James Bond screen tests with a few big actors: Anthony Starr, Rupert Friend, Sam Worthington, and Henry Cavill. Now, of course, the search for the 007th official Eon James Bond actor is still underway. We haven't really heard much about this. Barbara and Michael have been very tight-lipped on everything. The last we heard about Bond was that there was a feud with Amazon, so I don't know if that's come to fruition. But the screen tests actually are from many years ago. So at the time when Casino Royale was being made and Daniel Craig was about to be cast as Bond, there were some other actors in the running, and these guys were in the running. Whether they've released these screen tests to generate speculation as to whether any of these guys will get the role now, I don't know. But the Henry Cavill one is the one that I think people are talking about the most. So I'm quite curious about that. And that's out of the ones I watched, that one is probably my favorite. But yeah, so it's been nearly 4 years, almost, well, 3.5, 4 years since No Time to Die. And when it gets to autumn, it will have been 4 years. So No Time to Die definitely obviously had its issues trying to release with the pandemic and all of that stuff, and it was very much crafted as a finale to Daniel Craig. So after that, he's left the role, he's resigned, the search is on. But out of these screen tests, like I say, Henry Cavill was my top pick. And initially, I wasn't too fussed about Cavill taking the role before because he was Superman in Man of Steel. But thinking about it now, enough time has passed since then, and watching his screen tests, he is the one that, to me, out of the four, displays the characteristics of Bond most effortlessly. Obviously, it's just a screen test, so we can't go for much. But what he was doing, he was reading the scene from GoldenEye, where Bond talks to Xenia in the casino, and obviously he has to repeat it a few times. But I think he did a pretty good job. He kept it fairly sort of stoic but suave, and I think in a similar sense to what sort of Craig embodied when he got the part. So I think Cavill, obviously, he's quite an athletic guy. He's fairly good looking to the eye, and he's not actually that old. I thought he was older than he was. He's actually 40, so somewhere in the 40s. I think he's actually 40 on the dot. So I think if there's ever a time for him to get the role, it's now or never. Because if you're going to cast Henry Cavill now, you want to be sure he's going to have a decent number of films under his belt, which I think would, if they're going to come out in a quicker succession than the Craig films, then you could have about 3 or 4 movies in a decade, or maybe just over a decade. You kind of want to leave the role of Bond when you're approaching 50 or in your 50s. Otherwise, it gets a little bit ridiculous, and you start to look a bit too old. But Cavill he's fit as a fiddle. He's played various spy roles before. He's been in Mission Impossible, for God's sake. He's been in Argyle. He's been in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, if I'm not mistaken. So he's done these kind of parts before. So maybe this is fate kind of leading him to James Bond. I don't know if that's true. We don't know if he's actually been cast. But the fact that the screen test has re-emerged now, maybe, and he's actually a bigger actor now than he was before. So maybe now the producers are thinking maybe it's the time to bag him while we can. As for the other ones, I didn't really pay too much attention to them. Rupert Friend and Anthony Starr, I thought theirs were just all right, but I can't see them bagging the role. That's Sam Worthington as well, because Sam Worthington is in the Avatar movies. So I don't think Sam Worthington really fits Bond. I'm watching his screen test. His one thing, he's an Australian, and his accent was very slippy. He didn't really do an English accent, and yeah, when he tries to say, "Oh, my name's Bond, James Bond," it sounds like he's from Crocodile Dundee. Nothing against Australians, but you need obviously George Lazenby was Australian, but he had a bit of voice work. There was dubbing used, so it's Sam Worthington. They'd have to dub him, but Sam Worthington is far too busy with Avatar to ever be James Bond. Obviously, this was many years ago before Avatar came out, so maybe back then he might have had more of a chance, but now I don't think it's done. It would never happen for that reason. Nothing. I mean, the guy's good looking. He's quite fit, but it's more like, again, because of Avatar. That's what would hold him back and would hold the producers back, I think. And again, the accent is not going to work. So I think out of the four, Cavill is the best choice. But I wonder if, like, again, the re-releasing of these screen tests is a sign. Potentially, it's a sign that Bond 26 might actually be getting on its way now. And maybe we will get an announcement officially with Cavill as Bond. I mean, there's constant, like, spam Facebook posts of Henry Cavill's Bond, like this fake artwork, like AI announcing it, but it's all fake. So don't believe it until Eon Productions officially announce it. That's what I go by. If he doesn't get it, fair enough. There's sure to be someone else that will be in the running. But if you're going to go with big names in the business right now, I think, either Aaron Taylor-Johnson or Henry Cavill, they're the most talked about at the moment. The Idris Elba thing was, that's far and away gone. That was rumored even when No Time to Die was being made. They were saying, "Oh, who's going to be the next Bond, Idris Elba?" But he's too old. He's as old as Craig. He's way too old to do it. So it won't be him. He could be a villain, though. I'd love to see him as a villain. But I think if we're going to go two big names, it's between Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Henry Cavill. But I think Henry Cavill has played more of these kind of roles already. So he's already got that experience under his belt. Again, that's not a guarantee that he'll be cast, but I think he's got more of an advantage because we've seen him be very suave and gentlemanly and dashing. We know he can do action sequences. So I think, personally, my money is on Henry Cavill. And I've changed my opinion on him being cast. I actually would not mind if he was cast, and I think he would be a good choice. And I think that if they want to cast him now, so then you can start work on 126, give him at least 3 or 4 movies to get some experience under his belt. And after Daniel Craig, he's already quite a big name. So I think Henry Cavill is a bankable choice. And Aaron Taylor-Johnson is just uncraven, so that might reduce his reputation a bit. But I don't know. I mean, just going from the screen tests, Cavill's one is the most engaging. I mean, like I said, you have to watch them to sort of give your own opinion. But out of the 4 that have been leaked, that one is easily the best. So it gives me hope that we might hear more about Bond 26 soon, and maybe Cavill is on his way to being cast in the role now. I mean, if you think about it, this could be history repeating itself, because if you remember, back in the 80s, Pierce Brosnan was meant to be James Bond in The Living Daylights, but because of his contract with Remington Steele, legally he just couldn't get out of that, and they needed to find someone else because Brosnan wasn't able to be available in time to be James Bond in The Living Daylights. But lo and behold, Brosnan got his chance in GoldenEye, just only 2 films later. So, once MGM sorted out the financial issues after License to Kill, and they decided to kind of softly reboot Bond, I guess. Bring it back to basics. Brosnan was a bankable choice at the time. So maybe this is that kind of situation again. Obviously, at the time of Casino Royale, there was no way anyone else was going to get the part other than Craig, because he was the number one choice. He was the one that Barbara wanted. Obviously you have to screen test other actors, and you see other people to get some choice, but Craig was the one they wanted. They literally asked him to do it. They begged him. They're like, "Will you please audition for this role?" Initially, he said no. He said, "I think you've got the wrong person." But then it was the script for Casino Royale that got him interested and thought, "Oh, actually, okay, this is a reinvention, a clean slate." So maybe they're in the process of trying to work on a new clean slate, given how No Time to Die ended. It's clearly going to be a different continuity. to the Craig movies. The 5 Daniel Craig films are self-contained, but if Henry Cavill was cast as Bond, or whoever's cast, will be starting a new timeline. Whether the character is already 007 or they do the origins again, I don't know. But I mean, I'm quite happy for Bond to be pre-established in the new film. And if it is Henry Cavill, then I think we're in safe hands, because I think the franchise will still be monetizable, I guess is the word to say. It will still be, I mean, and with Amazon as well, if they can work out that thing, then that would be good. But with Henry Cavill, I think you have a bankable choice, probably the most bankable choice at the moment. So yeah, my mind has now kind of changed on that. So I think, yeah, Henry Cavill, if he's cast, good on him, because he's roughly the right age. Physically, he's right for it. He's got the voice. He's got the look. He's pretty much got what you need. In my opinion, I think he's got what you need, and he's pretty good with, with female co-stars in other films. He's been pretty good. Whether he can pull off the darker side of Bond is another question. Then again, his character in Mission Impossible wasn't really dark. He was just a villain. So there's room to grow and, twist the formula somewhere. But I think, based on these screen tests, like I say, Cavill is my choice. But if you guys think any of the other ones are good candidates, let me know. I don't think Rupert Friend he didn't really stick with me, nor did Anthony Starr. I'm not really too familiar with them. Henry Cavill would be a great James Bond. Yeah, a lot of people have said that they want Cavill to do it. So, I think, he gets asked about it all the time. So I'm thinking in some ways he will get it. I think fate is kind of leading him towards it in a lot of ways. Yeah, that's true. They could just be releasing the screen tests to just for the sake that it's been so long now, and in public media, they're allowed to release them, just for archival reasons, I suppose. But I reckon it's also down to speculation. They know if they release it, it's gonna cause discussions about who should be James Bond. Even though the screen tests were for many years ago. There we go. Glad Bond 26 isn't being rushed. Yeah, that's true. I would rather they take their time. But it does have to start at some point. It does feel like we have been waiting a long time and not hearing very much. Us Bond fans are getting used to that. I would like to know who the next guy is, and I'd like to know what their plans are for Bond 26. And then once they get that sorted, I'll be happy. And then they can sort of get the ball rolling. And then we can have a release date. So then we know when it's going to come. But yeah, I understand they're trying to reinvent the wheel, but it is taking a while. It's like, come on, Babs. We are patient, but give us something here, please. Luke Evans or Theo James. Luke Evans, maybe. Maybe, yeah, potentially. He's done quite a few big films. Theo James, I'm not too familiar with that actor. Yeah, Brosnan was I think he left at the right age. I think that's. Die Another Day is a shit film, but he. I know Brosnan didn't choose to leave. It was kind of they let him go after the disaster that was Die Another Day, and then they decided to reinvent the series, etc., etc. But being like 49, I think that's 49, 50. That's about the time you should sort of step away, unless you're in immaculate physical condition and get away with looking younger. But yeah, I think 50, 49 is the time to depart from Bond. But Cavill have at least a decade worth of films. If they hurry up, if they confirm it's him now, and they say we're going to get ready for Bond 26, then give him a contract of like another 3 movies if the next one does well. But we'll see. Yeah, Dwayne Johnson possibly could be the villain or the henchman. I think he'd be a better henchman, to be honest. Funny enough, there's a character in Nightfire, the Bond video game, that looks a bit like Dwayne Johnson. Which is kind of funny. Alexandra Daddario, yeah, she could be a Bond girl. Yes, yeah. Timothy Dalton. Actually, I'm glad we got Timothy Dalton. As much as Brosnan can be sad about not getting the role earlier, he got to play eventually, and in some ways he got the better deal because he got 4 films. Timothy Dalton got 2. Maybe if Brosnan had got the role in The Living Daylights, the Timothy Dalton movies may not have been as dark. Certainly the License to Kill anyway, but who knows? Hello, Jared. Yeah, I feel like Cavill would be kind of on a similar vein to Craig, but probably a little bit more suave and charming. Not that Craig wasn't suave, but I feel like some of the humor might not be as dark or dry as Craig. I think that they would tone down the darkness. It wouldn't be so like the Bourne movies. It would still be Bond and have the usual tropes, but Cavill would be able to switch the perspective quite well. I think he would anyway. But yeah, I mean, we've not seen him do many comedic roles. He's always played quite serious parts, so to test his comedy would be quite nice if he gets it. Rosamore, yeah, Rosamore was too old in A View to a Kill. As much as I enjoy A View to a Kill or enjoyed it in the past, I rewatched it recently on the big screen actually, and it's really gone down in my opinion. It's not one of my favorites. I think Roger should have left with Octopussy, to be honest, because it was a much better it was a much better film, and even though he was old, he kind of had a bit more energy. Being 57 is sort of pushing it, unfortunately. But I love Roger. Roger's great, but I think he did probably stay a little too long. But I get why he stayed in Octopussy because of Never Say Never Again. It was a bankable choice to keep him there, but I think after that was probably when he should have left. But View to a Kill has its moments. Don't get me wrong; it's not the worst James Bond film. It definitely has a lot of entertainment value, but it is bizarre when you think about it that way. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, I'm sort of open to Henry Cavill being cast. The other ones, not really fussed about them. And again, Sam Worthington is a complete no just because of Avatar. He's still a good actor, but he's gonna be attached to Avatar for a while. I mean, even though they've nearly filmed all the Avatar movies, he's always going to be known for that. So yeah, I think Sam Worthington will bag other roles that will suit him more than James Bond, personally. Plus, his character in Avatar was a Marine to begin with, so he gets to use a gun now and then. Yeah, I mean, the lyrics to the song don't make a lot of sense, but the song is catchy. They had done quite a few ballads in the 80s, but yeah, I'm well, I'll reply to that later. I'm sort of happy to sort of say it's a decent song, but View to a Kill might well have been different if Timothy Dalton was cast or if Pierce Brosnan was cast. Um, but yeah, I think everything happens for a reason. So we will get the new Bond eventually, but currently, as it stands, there's not a lot being said other than just the screen test has been leaked and etc. There's been nothing from Barbara Broccoli. Oh, sorry, 41 years. Henry Cavill's 41. Well, that's fine. That's still acceptable for me. Um, I think 41 is like the maximum age I would personally accept for a new Bond. Anything older than 41 or 42 is a bit like you're not going to get that many films. So it's like you want them to have a decent run of films, which is why I'd say late 30s or bang on 40 is the right age to start for a new Bond. But again, it also depends on the frequency of how the films come out. So yeah, who knows? At this point, it's just a waiting game. There's been no word about Bond 26 as of yet. We still don't know if the Amazon thing is ever going to be resolved. But still, I mean, I kind of enjoyed Henry Cavill's Superman. I thought he was good. The film surrounding him wasn't very good, but he tried his best with what he had. He is a good actor with a lot of talent, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll get an announcement. Who knows? But at the moment, it's very much up in the air. But what do you think of these screen tests? Have you seen them? Are you going to see them? Please let me know in the comments what you think. If there's anything anybody wants to say now, then please say it because I'll probably end this. I've kind of said my piece. I really hope we get an announcement on Bond 26 soon, as it's now 2025. The franchise does need to continue, and I hope this Amazon thing can resolve, but we'll see. But I'd be open to Henry Cavill taking it. If he was offered it and took it, I'd be like, great, we're in safe hands because of the financial side would be in safe hands. Mm. Yeah, glad we agree about that, Nick. Then again, I thought George Lazenby was a bit too young to take on the role of Bond. I mean, he kind of got away with it. 29, 30 is like the youngest, I would say. I think you've got to be, if you want to be considered for James Bond, unless you're making a young Bond story, you have to be in the between the ages of 30 and 40. I think in that kind of decade is what I personally think should be the best course of direction. But again, if you're telling a young Bond story, that's different. But for the official series, yeah, I would go with that personally. That's yeah. It seems like the verdict is very similar on Cavill. There's one or two that probably say, "Oh no, he's not. He's Superman. He can't be Bond." That's kind of well. I never said he couldn't be Bond, but in the past, I've always thought it's unlikely he'll get it because he was Superman. But I think people remember him less for that now than they do for his other films where he plays spies. Um, that's just how I see it. I mean, you could go back and look at his filmography, and he hasn't done much as Superman. And I don't think I don't think he's personally that proud of it, to be honest. He probably took it for the notoriety aspect, to get himself more work, etc. But again, he will do what he'll do. Uh, but yeah, I really hope we get some kind of announcement soon because I'm dying here. Okay, that's a big exaggeration, but yeah, as a Bond fan, I am getting a bit impatient now. I think it's been a while since No Time to Die, and I totally understand the issues, etc. Of releasing that, and they obviously want a break after that release is fine. I'm a patient person, but and while I'm all for taking your time to make it the best it can be, just please give us something. At this time, I would say we're in 2025 now. You've had a lot of time to tell us something or give us an update, and nothing's really been said. So, fingers crossed, soon we'll get something. But if we have to wait a long time, then fine. Hopefully, it's worth it. Because I know not everybody was, everyone was divided on No Time to Die, of course, and how Craig left the role. But to be honest, that's hopefully that's kind of settled now. 33 and 45. Yeah, and yeah, that's fair enough. I think maybe yeah. Well, whatever they do, hopefully they'll stick to the sort of what Fleming's intentions, as well as kind of reinvent it for the modern day, whilst paying respect to Fleming. Josh O'Connor was also was also rumored to be the next Bond as well. He's a good actor. I think he's on the young side personally. I think he's maybe a tad bit too young. If he's in his 30s though, potentially, then maybe that's kind of a different take. Maybe they'll go with someone who is younger and go down a young Bond route. I think it's unlikely, but if they really wanted to reinvent it in a different way, cast a very young guy, and then yeah, well, there you go. You could do the whole origins in a different way. You wouldn't have the Skyfall thing. You'd have probably him going to Eton or somewhere and training and with MI6. But then again, there's a nice kind of enigma about the character. There's a nice sense of mystery. Um, you don't necessarily need to know his origins. I mean, for Skyfall, it was perfect because of the 50th anniversary. But for this, might not be necessary, or have flashbacks. But keep it minimal. I think I like the sense that yeah, he's an agent. He's kind of emotionally detached. We don't need to know that much about him. Maybe the next film will be a back to basics approach in some areas, but I do think it'll be back to basics in terms of budget. But it's hard to say at this point. But that's all I'll say. That's my kind of verdict on it. I think out of the four, Henry Cavill is the best choice. But this doesn't necessarily mean any of these guys are in the running. It could just be, as Nick said, they've just released these for the sake of archival purposes, or just sake that they're now allowed to. So it's just resurfaced. But I do wonder if there is more to it than that. So we shall see. All we can do is sit and wait patiently for an announcement. But until then, that's all we can say. But thank you very much all for watching and listening. And please leave comments down below as to what you think of the news. And yeah, I'll be back for more Bond updates whenever we have them. I'll just double check the comments for any last minute things. They wanted to have an experienced Bond rather than a young Bond. Okay, yes, it's going to be more traditional then, like we've had with the other six. And also, this actor will be the 007th incarnation, which is kind of fun. Um, yeah, when did Debbie Williams announce that? Because I never saw that announcement. Would have been nice to know, but still, I trust what she says. So yeah, because I'm sure a lot of people, like me, speculated about the young Bond thing. But I would imagine that's more of an idea of a spin-off that Amazon would want to do. And I think that's where the arguments have stemmed from, is that Barbara and Michael don't want it to be this oversaturated streaming market of content. They just want to continue the legacy that's already been established, and I can't say I blame them, to be honest. So I don't mind as long as the content is good, but I don't. I agree. It shouldn't become oversaturated, like Disney Plus, where you get loads of Marvel shows and then and Star Wars, and then you just can't keep up with all of it, and it all links together, and you're like, I don't understand half what's going on. I don't have time to watch all this. So I like it when a Bond movie comes out because it feels momentous, feels like an event, and you look forward to it. And you don't get them every day, and I think that's what makes it special, personally. But we'll see if they can resolve their differences. But anyway, I'm going to end this now. So thank you very much all for watching. And I'm Pajak's Perspective. See ya. Bye for now.